Okay, so welcome to the Quad City Work-Based Learning Group, where we are presenting and talking today about careers in STEM. On behalf of our work-based learning group, we are happy to be able to provide different opportunities, different interests, and different career pathways to help our students learn about different skills and different characteristics that go along with all the different types of careers that are out there. Today's session, we are focusing on the careers in STEM. And there is a link to an evaluation. So if you are watching this video, I do encourage you to fill out that evaluation at the end, just so that we have a better knowledge as to what you've learned, what things we can change, and what ways we can help make these types of sessions better for you. And you'll see that there is an evaluation link right there. So we appreciate that. So again, welcome to all of my panelists. Today we are going to start with Becky, who is a naturalist at the Wapsie Education Center. Becky?
Hi, everyone. So I am a naturalist at the Wapsie River Environmental Education Center. It's through Scott County Conservation Board here on the Iowa side. As a naturalist, we get to do all sorts of things. Our main goal is environmental education. So we do that in both forms of field trips during the school year, and then also we work on weekends and do public programs. And these programs can range anywhere from canoeing, kayaking, archery, outdoor recreation in the summer anyway. In the winter, we do snowshoeing, cross-country skiing. We also do programs such as we do a grounded in nature program. So we do yoga and nature walks. We have a class called Crafting for Conservation, where we show you how to upcycle things. So we do all sorts of very fun activities out here. And how I got here, I went to the University of Illinois and studied in animal sciences. My main goal at that point was to become a veterinarian. So I did all the courses I needed to become a veterinarian, and throughout that process realized I did not want to become a veterinarian. So I then went on to grad school at Western Illinois University. I got my post-baccalaureate certificate in zoo and aquarium studies and my master's of science degree in biology. Throughout there, I realized I wanted to become a zookeeper. So I became a seasonal zookeeper at Niabi Zoo for a season. And after doing that, realized I did not want to become a zookeeper. So I then went to become I was an intern, an education intern at Nahant Marsh, which got my foot in the door here at the Wapsie River Center, because we partner with them on a lot of events. And then eventually became a seasonal naturalist here at the Wapsie River Center, which then turned into a full-time job. And I can honestly say, as being a naturalist, that quote, "If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life," that is definitely true for me. It is a dream job.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We're going to try to go back and share my screen again here so we could do our next introduction. So now we have with us engineering manager, Bill Walker. Bill?
Hi, I'm Bill Walker. I work for Tap On It. So Tap On It is so we kind of started out as a deals platform. So if you're familiar with Tap On It in the Quad Cities area, they send out deals for like food, drink, stuff like that. Wallace's Garden Center is like one of our biggest clients. So right now we've actually pivoted since the pandemic to providing a SaaS platform, so software as a service. Basically, we provide text messaging services. So we have a platform where you could send out text message marketing campaigns, and we provide that for pretty much any business that would like to use it. So we have our own we call them tenants. So our own tenant is Tap On It Deals, which, as I mentioned, we send out coupons and things like that in the Quad Cities area. But we also do have other companies using our software for more than just deals. Just as an example, we have Arconic, who uses it for employee notifications. So like for the different shifts, if like today, it's really cold outside, so they might send out a warning to bundle up, especially if you work outside. So we have a lot of different use cases. It's basically grown from more than just a marketing platform to just pretty much a text messaging notification service. You can do all kinds of cool stuff with it. So just my background, I actually started programming in high school. I took some courses at Rock Island High School for C and C++, something called logo programming, which I'm not even sure if anyone really does that anymore. That was more of like a kids programming thing where you have a little guy that draws stuff on the screen. So C and C++ at Rocky. I then went on to Blackhawk College and then Western Illinois University, majored in computer science and minored in math. The minor was mainly because I had to take so much math that it made sense just to do the minor. So then I actually did not start in programming. I started actually in customer service and help desk. So I worked for the Moline Dispatch, specifically at QC Online for 3 or 4 years doing customer service, help desk, sales, fixing computers. That's one thing that we did do, even though we were an internet service provider, we did provide computer assistance for anyone in the local community. So, people would come in with computer problems, we'd fix that too. So I started with IT, then moved on to, used to be called Tech Team, but it's now called Stefanini. It's on Kimberly Road, right behind Famous Dave's and all that. So that was help desk with John Deere. Did that for about 6 or 7 months, and I got promoted to a senior help desk agent with a different company called Boston Consulting Group. Did that for a while, and that particular client had a need for a web developer. So I jumped on that opportunity, and that's what got me back into development. So I went, development at school to help desk, and then to development. So kind of a roundabout way. But I did some web development for that client for about 10 months or so. And then I got my first actual development job as a PHP engineer at Town News, which is owned by Lee Enterprises. Did that for about 3 to 4 years. And then I came to Tap on it as just a regular software engineer. And I've been with the company almost 4 years now. I've grown from software engineer to lead software engineer to now engineering manager. And I lead a team of 6 people. We're actually hiring right now. So we're definitely growing and looking for more people to join us.
That's awesome. And like Becky, you didn't start with what you thought you were going to be doing, and then you got all these other opportunities to learn and grow. So that's amazing. We love to see that. Especially since we like to tell kids, you don't have to know what you want to do right now, right? You kind of fall into it. You just have to know the path that you want to go. So that's great. All right, moving on. We have with us Brad Neff. Brad, you are from John Deere. Tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
Quite the introduction, right?
Yes.
So I am a quality engineer for Deere. I've been with Deere for 12 years now, but I've been in, so that would be agricultural side of our business. I've been in the manufacturing for 25 plus years. I think the theme, what we're talking about here is, if it's catered to the students, is you may have an idea of the travel you want to go, but as you get in that travel, you understand what you love and what you have passion for. I think my stint in the ag industry is supervisor for a while, on the floor, interactive with folks, assembly processes, etc. And then as you grow, you become more, I guess, catered to what you have a passion for, like I said earlier. So I've been in design engineering, I've been in mechanical engineering, and now quality. So quality systems as a whole. I work a lot with suppliers, communications, quality improvements. And then, as we stated from the John Deere side, we're very heavy in the tech industry. So you may have noticed, and this can be catered to the students here. So you may have noticed that a couple of weeks ago, we released an autonomous tractor, a tractor that drives itself. So as we had our expo out in Vegas a few weeks back, people didn't realize how tech savvy we are at Deere. So quality side of our business is at the top of the mountain there. So I've been, as a quality engineer, 15 years probably experience. So I work, again, a lot from the supplier standpoint, quality assurance, communication with other suppliers, assuring their processes are firm, assuring our parts are receiving at our factories are meeting our specs and dimensionals. But that path has been long. I'm 53 years old and I still change positions. Even my career could change. I'm actually looking at something different out of the quality industry. So I'm still with Deere, but it always changes, always evolves. You always can learn more. But I started my journey. I started at Western Illinois, got my bachelor's, and it was in business. I went from business to manufacturing. So that's how much of a spectrum you can change your mindset. So I went from Honda Industries, which is a office furniture, being a supervisor on the floor, getting very green and quickly learning that that's probably not what I want to do. Then went to Case IH. That's another ag business. Spent about 10 years there on the factory floor being a supervisor, and then back into a quality engineering position there. Then I went to McLaughlin Body Company, which is a local company here again, engineering side of the business. But then I found a nice burn grab on Deere. Deere is very, from an ethical side, community side, very supportive, and very well. I mean, they give you opportunities, and I think the students and whoever's, taking in this information is, if you get with a company that you like to be with, the opportunities will grow. Don't think you're going to be pigeonholed into something that you may not love to do and not like to go to work every day. Deere is a very good company for exposing you to other avenues. I mean, you can go from an engineer to human resources. That is the opportunities you may have. So any questions for me?
I was going to say, I love that, because that's a lot of the conversation that I have with students is you got to get your foot in the door, right? Get your foot in the door, try a job that's not necessarily maybe what you thought you'd be having, but you like the company, and finding the good fit of the company is just as important as finding your right career path. Right. So you could be in, like you said, engineering, but there's so many different types of companies that are out there, and the culture of the company is just as important. And I also love how you mentioned, John Deere is very tech savvy, because we are talking about STEM. So science, technology, engineering, and math, right? So there's a lot of crossover that comes along with a lot of these different kinds of positions. And that kind of leads me to our next presenter, Morgan. So Morgan, let's pull up your lovely little introduction here. And Morgan, my friend, is, I skipped. So let's go see if we can go back. There we go. Morgan here is a marketing commercial specialist. And so Morgan, let's have you tell us a little bit about what it is that you do.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the introduction, Erica. My name is Morgan Zebor, and I am the marketing commercial specialist for Atlantic Coca-Cola Bottling Company. And you hear Coca-Cola, but we are actually the local bottler. There are just over 60 bottlers throughout the country in the United States, and we're super excited to be one that's centrally located here in Iowa, but we've reached a little bit into Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, and a little bit into Missouri. And we have 9 distribution centers across the state of Iowa, specifically one in Walcott. But then we have a lot of opportunities. So we manufacture and produce Coca-Cola, like the Coca-Cola that you drink and you buy from Hy-Vee or Fairway, right in Atlantic, Iowa, which is about an hour and a half west of Des Moines. So kind of in the southwest corner of Iowa. But then we ship it all to Walcott and all over the state of Iowa and our territories. And then we also sell to other Coca-Cola bottlers in the area, Midwest particularly. And then we buy from them as well, so we can make sure all of our products are distributed. We employ about 800, just a little over 800 employees across the state of Iowa. But, and then we also have a lot of brands. That includes our sparkling brands, that includes our water, juice, tea, coffee, dairy, energy, and sports drinks. But a little bit into what I do is I'm on the marketing team here at Atlantic Bottling. I'm located in Des Moines, but we support our whole territory, which is across Walcott or the state of Iowa. But we work on marketing strategy, market research, promotions and advertising, event management. For example, we're at the John Deere Classic in East Moline. We support sales, and we also encompass public relations. So we're basically the face of our company, which is super exciting. But a little bit about my story. I am a recent University of Northern Iowa graduate, but when I started, I guess I'll go all the way back to high school. I was a part of a nonprofit called the Cedar Rapids Freedom Festival. And I was an intern there because I thought I was interested in events. So I was an intern there for a summer. And then I was like, okay, we have this board with all different types of careers on our board. I'm going to job shadow all of these people. So I job shadowed someone at Hy-Vee. I job shadowed an engineer at Collins Aerospace. I job shadowed a banker and someone who works at Wells Fargo, just to figure out what I did not want to do. And that would be the number one recommendation, because nonprofits need help. So if you can step in, but then job shadow the board members who will be in your network, I guess, forever. I'm still friends with a lot of them. But then just doing that job shadowing, I found out I do not want to be an engineer. So great job to all of the engineers out there. I'm very thankful for what all the engineers do, but that is not for me, because I just don't understand the whole analytics and, things like that. And then I kind of weaved my way through. I worked at Hy-Vee for a number of years on their social media, and I was a server for a while. But that was when I went to Kirkwood Community College, and really I took the pre-business transfer route because I knew I wanted to go into a 4-year college, but I didn't know what exactly into, if that was communications or if that was marketing. And I really, so I got the base business classes done at my community college, which was super awesome because it was extremely affordable and for all the reasons why you're here at Eastern Iowa Community College. So that's exciting. And so I would encourage you to take the classes that you might be interested in, but you don't know for sure. So then you can have that solidification. Yes, I do want to go into this in the future, or I don't. So long-winded story there, but now I'm in Atlantic bottling. All of those things kind of added up. Right after I graduated at the University of Northern Iowa, I got my full-time job right before COVID, which is exciting because then I was kind of here throughout COVID and provided me still some experience, even though we had to do a lot of things virtually. But now in regards to commercialization, social media really runs underneath me, and that's probably one of my favorite things to do because I really like to understand what we're doing and how we can do it better. And so it's this analyzing all of the statistics that we use with our social media management tools and say, oh, well, this post didn't work well when we posted at like 8 a.m. Maybe we need to post at 6 p.m. instead, and just kind of understanding all of those different platforms. And the environment is changing a lot, it's very exciting, and every day is a different day.
I love it. I love so much of what you talked about. So one of the things that I have to, of course, mention is the fact that you understood that you did different job shadows and you figured out what you didn't like, because that's just as important as figuring out what you do like. So we always encourage our students to try different things. And that's why we are doing these types of videos, so students can understand there are opportunities for them to try different things before they go on to their next step. So again, we are in a world where we no longer say, what do you want to be when you grow up? We say, what is the first step you want to take after high school? And there is no right or wrong answer. So it is whatever is the best fit for the student. And the more that they can watch videos like this, the more that they can network, the more that they can do job shadows, the more that they can do informational interviews and site visits, the more they can understand, I think I like this, or I know for sure I don't like this. And this panel is so exciting because so many of you have kind of thought you went one pathway and then you kind of transitioned, or you stayed in one and you kind of branched out within. So that's why we hold these kind of conversations, because students need to hear that that's normal, right? It's actually abnormal for someone to go, I know exactly what I want to do, and then do it. So
And enjoy it.
and enjoy it. Exactly. So it's hopefully comforting to students to hear your guys' stories. So thank you for that. So now I'm going to kind of open it up to different conversations. We heard a lot about how you got into the role that you are currently in and what education you went towards. But what I want to know from you, and I'll let whoever wants to start, and Bill kind of touched on this, what classes did you take in high school that you found were very important into what you're currently doing? I know that, Bill, I don't know if you want to start, because you kind of started off by saying you went to Rocky, you started with some IT programming. So do you want to go on from there?
Yeah. So, Rocky in high school. So to be completely, let's start from the beginning. I actually got really interested in programming when I got the fancy graphing calculator for my geometry class back in like 10th grade. So I found out that you could put games on there. So I immediately wanted to learn how to make games for it. So that's kind of how I started. Was it came with this thick instruction book, and I basically just poured through it, figured out how my calculator worked, and I was able to make games for it. And I really liked that. And then I found out, at Rocky, talking to my counselor and everything, that there's actually programming classes that teach you how to do this stuff on an actual computer. So Rocky, at the time that I went, so this was late 90s, I graduated in 2001. So they offered a C and C++ course, logo programming, which I had mentioned before, which is logo programming is a different beast. It's more like a teaching tool. So I mentioned there's like a little guy that draws stuff on the screen. That's pretty much what it was. You would type commands, the little cursor would draw like your picture of your stick figure or whatever. And you can make it do things like animations. So I took that class. I took the C and C++ class, and I actually took 2 years of that because they offered both a regular C/C++ class and an advanced placement one. So I actually took both of those. And taking that advanced placement course, of course, got me some college credit as well. So that was good. I also took some HTML programming at Rocky. It was more of they called it internet class back then. I'm not sure what it is now. It's been 20 years. But internet class was basically, that was back when the internet was first taking off. It was like, this is the internet. This is how it works. If you want to make a web page, this is how you do it. And that's pretty much what that class was. At Blackhawk, I took courses. So specifically the path I went, I'm trying to remember what it was called. I think it was something like computer programming, something like that. Anyway, so I learned Visual Basic at Blackhawk. I learned more HTML and CSS. And I learned how to talk to databases. I actually learned how to talk to Access back at Blackhawk. And then at Western, I learned Java. And then like a lot more of the theoretical stuff, because I did computer science with an emphasis on science. So like a lot of my courses were science based, a lot of math, like MATLAB. That's another language that I learned. Trying to think if there's anything else. C# was another one. After college, like I said, I kind of ended up in help desk. Wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but all my friends, instead of going for programming, they went for like IT related fields, like fixing computers or setting up networks or those kind of things, security. So that's how I ended up falling into that role, that IT role, help desk role, is all my friends were doing it. So of course it's like, well, I want to learn about this stuff too. So I learned about that, ended up doing help desk for years. But, and I think this is probably the thing that helped me the most, is that I still programmed on my own. I still learn new things. Basically for the job I have right now, our stack is JavaScript. So we use JavaScript for the front end and the back end. We use Node.js specifically for the back end. But that was something I had to teach myself. I knew nothing about JavaScript, so I had to teach myself JavaScript. There's tons of great places to learn online. there's plenty of free places to learn. But I found like the boot camps or like the courses that were specific for like some sort of engineering program, those helped me the most. So they were more, this is the programming language. This is how you write stuff in the programming language. This is how you do different things in the programming language. And those classes are what helped me the most, I would say. So anyway, yeah, that was kind of my my path. Was some classes in high school, college, but out of college, I didn't even go into a programming field, but I still continued to learn that. And for about 10 years, I was in IT for about 10 years. So that entire 10 years, I was still learning programming. I was still programming on my own. My wife thought I was nuts because I was still sitting in front of the computer, writing this stuff that to her made no sense, but made the computer do things. But it paid off because now I am in a job I absolutely love.
And I think that that's such a great point. And so thank you for bringing that up. And I'll kind of ask the rest of the panel to talk about this as well. Not only were the classes that you took helpful, but you knew that you need to learn on your own too. And I think that there are some opportunities, whether it's clubs, organizations, volunteering opportunities, other things that are out there, free classes. Obviously the internet's great, that there are certain fields that you do need to kind of take on some of the responsibility and learn some of the stuff on your own as well. So that's great. Thank you for that. Becky, let's go to you. What kind of classes in high school really helped get you where you are now?
Well, when I was in high school, my goal was to become a veterinarian. And ever since I was in second grade, I remember telling my friend, we're going to become veterinarians. This is going to be great. So in high school, I took a lot of science classes. I took, of course, you had to take biology, you have to take chemistry. Well, then I went on and took advanced biology and advanced chemistry and anatomy and physiology. And I took all the science classes I could take. When I was in high school, unfortunately, they did not have any environmental studies classes. But at that point, I didn't know I wanted to be working in the environmental field. I wanted to be in the veterinarian field, which is science, a lot of science. So I took a lot of science classes. And even in college, I was in the pre-vet med course. So more science, physics. Physics is a big one. Definitely take math, a lot of the math classes for the pre-vet. For a naturalist, math does still come into play. Like we are constantly building here, constantly recreating exhibits, recreating enclosures for our animals. So we're constantly using all of the STEM field. We're using the engineering, we're using the math, we're using sciences. Chemistry for me is not a big one right now, which I'm glad because I personally did not like chemistry. But as a pre-vet, I had to take a lot of chemistry. So if you know, for me, ever since I was little, my passion was animals. That was my passion. And that's why I wanted to become a veterinarian. Then I got to see the behind the scenes part of being a veterinarian, and it wasn't for me. And so I still wanted to animals. That was my passion. So being a zookeeper, again, being the behind the scenes, again, I loved the caring for the animals part of it, but I knew it wasn't my career choice. It wasn't my passion. So then I learned that education was my passion, but I didn't want to be just a classroom educator. I wanted to be that informal educator out in the field, out teaching outside or teaching about the ecosystems of Iowa is what I'm doing now. And I love it. So in high school, even in grade school, even in junior high, if you know at least a small passion of what you have, just work off of that passion. And eventually you may come across that field of what you really, really want to be. So I know in high school, there's a lot of environmental courses or clubs. You can also, there's, for instance, community events like extreme cleanups. Those are big deals on learning exactly where the problems are in the environment and how we can help fix those problems. So finding classes like that, other nature centers in the area, or even Niabi Zoo or Nahant Marsh, or here at the Wapsie Center, or any of the Scott County parks. And I know there's like Illinois on the Illinois side. There's a ton of programs out there that are, or not programs, but events that are happening for the environmental studies field. So go to them, have fun, learn just as a fun weekend family event. It is a really good way to get your foot in the door, start networking, start volunteering, start interning. It's a really great way to get into this field.
Great, thank you. Okay, now Brad, I have kind of a different question for you.
right.
Being an engineer, I hear a lot of students that say, I think I'm going to be an engineer, but there's so many different kinds of engineers that are out there. So do you have recommendations for how they can figure out what type of engineer they want to be, or are there different, or do you just kind of fall into it, or how does that work?
No, well, I would say right now, the demand in the industry, and no matter whether it's ag or it's automotive or wherever, is software engineering. And I think we've hit on that note. The demand for software engineers couldn't be higher now. I mean, we are literally hiring hundreds of software engineers as we speak, because that's the tech, that's where it's going. As an engineer, I think someone had noted that, I think it was Becky, or whoever it was, but engineering was definitely not for me. You'll know whether you have a passion for it. I'm a hands-on person. I'm gonna show my age. I graduated in '86. We didn't have what we have today for the students on careers. I just wanted to get through high school. I enjoyed my high school. I wanted to get through high school. And then once I got into college, it started getting a little bit clearer. It was still fuzzy. So as from the student standpoint, never fear the unknown. I mean, you don't know. I mean, once you get in that path, you may go a different direction. My closest cousin was a chemical engineer from the University of Illinois, master's degree, and goes into the IT industry. I mean, complete course of success. And not only is he more successful now, completely different field, because he got where he's at point where he just didn't enjoy it. He thought he was, and then he backed out of it. You know, he finished, and now he's in IT. So I think from an engineering standpoint, there's mechanical engineering, which is more modeling. To get your engineering degree, you have to be strong in the math skills, but also an engineering side. Don't expect what you take out of the University of LA if you go to Iowa State, or if you go to University of Illinois or Purdue. Those are three of our dominant engineering schools. Don't think what you take out of the university, you're going to apply directly to your job. Yes, the core competencies you will, but the business itself will drive you in other directions. So you need that core, you need that mentality or that mindset. But from a software standpoint or from a system standpoint, each business has their own way of modeling, creating designs, that sort. So never, like I said, get that core, get that mindset, and then apply that, and then it'll stair step this way to wherever else you want to go.
So I love that you mentioned all the math. And actually, because this is always, I mean, it's crazy to think that it's okay for people to be, because I am that human, I'll just be honest. It's crazy for people to be like, well, I don't like math, or I don't know how to do it, so it's fine, right? Because we don't do that with, I don't know English, you know, you don't say those kind of things. And math is a very scary subject for lots of students. And yet it's extremely important. And so I always talk to students that say, I always tell them, take 4 years of math. I know you don't have to take 4 years of math, but take 4 years of math. And like Becky had mentioned, and I think a few of you others have mentioned, the math that you're learning in class is important because it's the foundation, but you're going to utilize it outside in the real world in the whatever capacity that you need to have it. So Becky mentioned that she's primarily science and she did a lot of science, but she uses math every day. I think if we're honest, all of us use math in some capacity every day. So it's a very important subject. And so let me go to Morgan. Morgan, you do a lot of the marketing, you do a lot of the social media. You had mentioned stats. Like for you, how do you use math?
Yeah, so kind of going off of that, when I was at my community college, I was in a couple accounting classes, managerial accounting and financial accounting, because those were two of part of the core business, what you have to take to move on to the next level, essentially. I thought it was interesting, but I would never, ever be an accountant because it just doesn't it doesn't bring me joy, honestly. So I still am glad I took those classes because I know that your income minus your expenses is your margin revenue, things like that, because that's how businesses are structured. And with Atlantic Bottling kind of being a smaller entity, we think about those all the time. What's our margin revenue? What is our profit? And things like that. But I will say, I know most younger students, I should say, just Gen Z in general, everyone's super savvy with social media already. But in regards to the business world, it's a little different because you want to analyze the why and the how. So what we do is specifically look at all of the analytics that whether each platform provides us, such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, things like that. You can also do this with TikTok, Pinterest, all of the platforms, honestly. But our main three is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then we dabble a little bit into others. But it's those impressions. It's the engagement. I don't want to post something just to post something. I want to be purposeful so we have the higher engagement, meaning that our followers will comment, and share because they're interested in what we have to say. Because then we can develop more of that brand connection and we can understand, oh, this posted really well. Let's do more of these. But this post did not do well. Maybe we should remove that from our strategy. So it's kind of like marketing strategy, but then also understanding the why and how we can do better. We always want to better ourselves, which is super cool. And then another part of the analysis I really like to see is the age demographics. So right now, because we're, like we say, an older company in a sense, most of our followers are ages 55 to 64. So to be a sustainable company, that's not very good, in my opinion. So we want to shift that. And how can we target younger generation? So 18 to 24, for example. How can we get them to interact with our messaging and our brand? So it's kind of defining those reasons, but then seeing really what works and what we should implement in regards to our social strategy.
So again, math, right? Or taking a different look at the purpose of social media, which I love. So if someone is very interested in social media and they are, an influencer and being able to do that, it's really understanding the purpose, because there is a purpose behind it. So that would be a great field for somebody to go into. So that's awesome.
Because numbers are facts. And so they're not going to move. And when you have those good numbers, you want to keep improving those good numbers.
I love it. Okay, so we're going to be running out of time here, but I want one last, if you could tell this generation one thing that you either wish you knew or some kind of motivation or what you encourage them to do, whatever it may be, that's what I would like to have you give them. So Brad, let's start with you. What is one thing that you want this generation to think about?
Well, I think I've said it before. I mean, fear in the unknown is key to your success. Don't pigeonhole yourself into thinking that's the only route you take. Whether you're young and you've told your parents, you've worked and you decide on what you're going to do, and then if you don't love it, no passion to it, you better get out of it, or you're going to be unhappy and you won't grow. You'll get stagnant. So make sure you get into, and I think Bill touched on it. Everybody's really touched on it here, is have a passion for what you want to do. Once you do that, then you'll be successful.
Becky?
Basically, what Brad said, have a passion. So my passion was animals. And I went to school to become a vet, and I am not a vet. I'm not even a wildlife rehabber. I am nothing close to a vet. So yes, I care for animals still in my job, but I do more education than animals. The animals are a bonus. So find that passion. So for me, if I did anything differently, it would have been to just follow that passion more. So I did shadow a vet when I was in high school. I even worked at the vet office throughout college, but I wish I did more. I wish I shadowed a wildlife rehabber. I wish I maybe went to the zoo more or became a seasonal intern at a zoo, or I followed the passion of animals in general, not just focus on being a vet. And that is really what I would say is it took me a while to get to this career that I absolutely love and will never change. Like, this is a dream job for me. But I didn't get here overnight. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of career changes. It took a lot of different paths. I wasn't planning on going to master's, but after graduating with a bachelor's to become going to vet school, knowing that's not what I want to do, I had to go get a master's because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And the master's career kind of took me to where I am today. So find that one passion and don't just do one part of that passion. Find anything you can do with it. If you like environmental studies, there's so many things you can do in environmental studies. If you like recreation, park, and tourism, there are so many different types of parks, type of organizations out there that you can go that route. So find what you want within that passion, and that is how you'll end up where you want to be.
Thank you. Morgan.
Ooh, those are two hard things to follow up on. I would definitely say is the soft skills. Work on those. And that's just your being attentive to detail and listening, making eye contact, and kind of reading the room, honestly. I think those soft skills will really take you to the next step into understanding, working with the older generations, and then also kind of understanding how you fit into whatever business or environment that you end up being in. So
I think that's a great point, especially since everybody right now is like this, right? So
yeah,
remembering those soft skills, not only in a working environment, but in a personal environment. I think
yeah.
well, we lost the thought of communication and contact and things like that. So I think that's very important. Thank you for that. And last
Thank
but
you.
not least, Bill.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with everyone 100%. If I were to add anything to that, I would say don't be afraid to ask questions. That if I would ask more questions, I'd probably be a lot further along in my career than I learn. I continue to learn a lot of this stuff on my own, but the best learning resources I had were when I paid for those boot camps and things like that, because I had classmates and teachers and instructors to bounce questions off of. So yeah, learning on your own is fantastic. I highly recommend it, but just being able to ask someone questions, and I mean, I even take advantage of that with my team right now. Yeah, I've been doing this for a very long time, but I don't pretend to know that I know more than anyone else on my team. So if I ever have anything that even I'm wondering about, I will make sure I ask those people on my team. Asking questions and realizing you need help, I think, are very important as well.
Well, I think all of those are fantastic and definitely things that we continue to use even at our old age, right? So thank you very much for all of you helping me today to discuss STEM careers and to help our students understand a little bit about this field more. So thank you for being our panelists, and we wish you luck. Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Thank you.